That is correct, Derek.
Will you pull that a little closer? Thank you. That's a fantastic song. I was listening to most of the album last night. It's really cool. I love your vibe. It's very Bay Area, too.
Thank you.
I know you're a big Bay Area musician and influenced by the Bay Area. I hear a little Tower of Power in there.
Yeah.
I heard a little Dave Matthews.
Yeah, that was the idea when I put this album together. I've been living here about 13 years, and since I moved here, I've built up a pretty awesome community of musicians and friends, and I had a lot of them record on this album, so naturally that Bay Area sound was infused into the music.
And you said you've been here for 13 years. Where'd you come from?
Yes, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And what made you move?
I went to college and got some work out here, and being just out of college, I needed to make money. Mm-hmm. So, I got a job as an engineer working for Lockheed Martin.
Oh, nice.
Down in Sunnyvale.
Nice.
And I did that for about 5 years, and eventually it was, always thinking of music. It was always, my off time was always playing music. And at some point I was like, man, I'm just going to do it full time. And just
That's
went
great.
For it. Yeah, and haven't looked back since.
And you have the new EP coming out, Monsters, but before that there was another one as well.
Yes, that's the self-titled album, the George Lacson project.
Okay, and I've got a song from that I want to play too.
Cool.
In your bio that I read, it says you worked with ZZ Top.
Yeah, rewind back to when I had just quit my job. I was touring on the road with John Lee Hooker Jr.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we did some shows in Finland with ZZ Top.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
International shows.
Yeah,
there we go.
And Lenny Kravitz.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah.
So you're playing bass for those guys?
No, I wasn't playing bass with them. We were sharing the stage with them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
we opened up for them.
No worries.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And also I read that you worked on a Grammy-nominated album.
Yes, sir.
What was that?
With John Lee Hooker Jr., we were nominated for a 2008 Grammy in the blues category.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And what were you doing on that?
I was playing bass.
Okay.
Yes. On that one, I was playing bass.
And now you said you also have you compose and you do some production work as well.
Yes. So I'm a songwriter and a band leader, and for all the music on these two albums, I've composed and written them with my bandmates. Some of them are cover arrangements, but most of them are original music. Yeah, and my bandmates are very important in the songwriting process as well. They're vital to that.
And so who are some of these guys that are going to be playing with you at Yoshi's?
At Yoshi's, I have Mateo Crota on guitar. I have Alcee and Lindo on vocals.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's on the Get Lucky song. And then if you go to your website, you can see her sing the Nirvana song, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, GeorgeLacson.com. I also have Jared Baird on drums, Daniel Casares on sax, and Anthony Anderson on trumpets.
That's very cool.
Brian Wolf on keyboards.
And also you were mentioning that you occasionally do a gig or you run into Bobby Webb from KPOO,
Yeah,
too.
Bobby's a good friend of mine. We sometimes play together at jams. Sometimes, I'll come up on one of his gigs and chat with him a bit. And
he's a good sax player.
Yeah, he's a great sax player. Super cool. Has a great sound and is well known and respected in the Bay Area musician community.
So how many years have you played bass?
I've played bass since I was 17. So, yeah.
And you're 19 now.
I'm 19 now. Yeah, so that's about 2 years plus 16 more years.
Okay. Did you start on a different instrument and move over to the bass?
I did. I started playing violin and viola.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's kind of a jump.
Yeah, it's a big jump. I played that in high school.
Right.
Eventually, my friends were putting together bands and stuff, and I tried to jam on the viola for a second, but it didn't.
Not happening.
It didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
And there weren't enough bass players, so I was like, I'll try playing bass.
You played all through high school, though?
Yeah. Well, I started playing bass when I was 17, but I played music all through ever since I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Your parents get you into it?
Yeah, my parents got me started. They're musicians as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good. See, my parents were not musicians, but for some reason my mom was big on me getting into it. So I did do that for a while, but eventually I just realized I wasn't as probably talented as a lot of the other.
Yeah, but it's important. I think
I
think every kid should get into music, and it's kind of sad that they're taking that out of schools.
I get a lot of musicians in here that are definitely in favor of keeping it in schools.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if there wasn't music, I think I'd be a big troublemaker right now. Well, I still am, but
yeah, no.
At least now I'm a musically talented troublemaker.
Exactly. And even though I kind of stopped playing at a certain point, I later on picked it up, and it was a different experience because I'd taken 10 years off. But you never really forget. It's like riding a bike or, driving a car or something. You'll pick it back up in just a few weeks. But you've never had that. You've been playing consistently.
I've been playing consistently ever since then. It's given me balance in my life, that's for sure.
So before I play Get Lucky, which obviously, how long ago did you record this?
We recorded that last year.
So right after Daft Punk.
Right after Daft Punk put it out, and the song was super hot, and it got played a whole bunch. It got played so much that we're like, man, we kind of hate this song.
Really?
But we made our own version.
Oh, I see.
Right? We made our own version, which we think is real cool.
It's definitely cool. And it's funny because I remember hearing it about a year ago this time and thinking that could be a big hit. I mean, it was early. I didn't know that I'd be hearing it all summer long and into fall and then it would win a Grammy. But it's definitely a great song. It's one of those songs where you could hear many cover versions in it. They're all
for sure.
They're all exciting.
It's a throwback groove. It's all Nile Rodgers and Chic and Good Times, all that stuff.
Well, let's go ahead and hear it. George Lacson here. What do I say? I'm sorry.
It's all right.
George Lacson. George Lacson.
Like I think Jackson.
No, I'll show you why I keep saying that in a second. But George Lacson is here and his wife as well.
His wife, yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. Here's a little bit of Get Lucky. All right, that was George Lacson with the cover version. Well, I should say the George Lacson project with a cover version of the very popular hit Get Lucky. And we were talking before, it's very cool. It was a huge song, obviously, but it's not one of those songs where you get bored of it, like the original, and then you took a different twist on it. It's
exactly.
Noticeably slower. Again,
definitely.
That singer's really brings a lot.
Yeah, it came out, I think, at the beginning of summer of last year, and we didn't know it'd be a huge hit. And we're like, man, this is a cool song. Why don't we do our own thing on it? So we added a little bit different tone to it. And then that song blew up. So it was like, awesome, man. Like, hopefully people are checking out my version as well.
There's something about, I was just thinking this too. Pharrell, first of all, Pharrell Williams, who did that song. Obviously, it's Daft Punk's song, but he sings on it and brings a really cool melody and harmony to it. And then he did the Happy song, which has great things going on.
He's a great songwriter and producer. He's excellent. I've always enjoyed his music, even back from when he was in NERD.
He hits a real chord that people really seem to like, and it's very positive music as well.
Yeah.
And then what I was thinking the other day in the car, I heard Happy. I thought there's only one other singer-songwriter that I could think that would be able to do a song like Happy. Yeah. And that's Andre from Outkast, who did Hey Ya. There's like something going on with these kind of, it's definitely pop.
Well, if you look at the songs you just mentioned, Hey Ya, Happy,
and Get Lucky.
Yeah,
what are the
listen to the grooves?
That's what it is.
They're grooves you've heard for the past 40 years.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people recognize that, and then it's a fresh new take on it.
It is. Yeah. See, I'm not wise enough to say exactly what it is, like the harmonies or the chord changes. I don't know the technical stuff. I just know that there's some kind of common denominator between those songs, and I'm sure I could think of a couple more too. But
they know what they're doing.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you make one song like that, and you're set financially.
Exactly.
And all those guys, but they continue to make better and better.
Yeah, that's the thing. They stay fresh. When you think you have them figured out, they come up with something new.
That's true. That's a great way to look at it. So speaking of something new, George Lacson has a new album out. It's called Monster, and I'm sure you'll be able to pick it up at the Yoshi's event on Sunday. It's at 7 p.m. Go to yoshis.com, get a pair of tickets. Also, I should mention, I got most of these songs off iTunes. Yeah. So you can still get it on iTunes. Yeah. There's an old EP you can pick up on iTunes.
Yeah, you can get them on iTunes. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Google Play.
That's great.
Yeah.
I get occasionally, like I had Brian McKnight on the phone a while ago and a few other people that have seen the music industry go way up and then down a little bit for them. Yeah. So when I mention iTunes, they get bitter because they know how much money they used to make off a $15 album at Sam Goody. Yeah. And now they're making pennies on the dollar from iTunes. But for someone that's kind of breaking out, starting new, what are your thoughts on the digital distribution?
Yeah, well, my thoughts on the digital distribution are, I'm pretty excited about it because it gets me out to a huge audience. I was never those guys that made a huge amount of money, and then all of a sudden my income dipped. But there are artists out there who have made that money, who are still making that money because they evolved with the times, right? Like we were just talking about Pharrell.
There you go, perfect example.
Or Outkast or Andre, right? Those guys are still out there doing their thing, and they've adapted to the culture, and that's what you have to do in the music business. It's always been that way. It's nothing new. It changes and changes and changes.
The only example I can think of where somebody really held out and it didn't affect them was the Beatles. They waited forever to go on iTunes.
Yeah.
Just maybe a year ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously they're the Beatles. People will buy their music no matter what.
Yeah. And I think there was, I don't think it's because they just gave in. I think it was a calculated move. They're smart, and there's a reason they've been around for 50, 60 years and still putting out hits.
And also, speaking of distribution, I had another hip hop artist on a few weeks ago, and he has a great album. His name's Nate the Great.
Oh yeah.
His album's called Common Folk. And a year ago I interviewed him. He gave away his whole album. He made a whole album. It sounds fantastic. Gave it away for free.
Yeah.
You could download the whole thing. And then I had him on a couple weeks ago. I said, hey, I can't find the album anymore. And he said, yeah, I pulled it off. Now I'm going to go on iTunes with it.
Yeah.
So that's a cool way to do it, too.
Exactly.
Give like a free taste to the loyal people. And then build
the free sample.
following.
It's the free sample, Once you taste it, then you want to buy it.
Because it's tough. Sometimes I'll see guys on the BART train or something, and they'll be like, hey man, buy my album $10 or $5. I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if there's music on this CD you're giving me. You gotta do something else. Like, just give it to me for free.
Yeah, for sure. If sight unseen, if you're giving away your music, you want to at least have people hear it, know. Then at my shows I charge for the music, but
you've now seen that I am a musician.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's going to be great. And again, who are the musicians that you're working with you also have the George Lacson Project and the George Lacson Trio.
Yes.
Now, are those some of the same players?
No, that's actually, it's kind of a mix of the two. I work with many musicians throughout the Bay Area. Typically, they're both the different sets of musicians. The trio is typically a jazz trio, right, with some like instrumental, funky stuff. And we perform every Sunday at the Campton Place in Union Square in San Francisco. We do their Sunday brunch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And also, that must be great. It's a weekly thing. You get to test out new material or new songs.
It's a little different for that gig because we're more of, the background music while you're having your poached eggs and your waffles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Let's hear this second track off the album. What's the name of this one?
Sure. This one's Wannabe.
Wannabe. All right. You're listening to KPOO San Francisco 89.5 FM. Alrighty, George Lacson here in studio. The song was called Wannabe. Again, what was the singer's name? I keep blowing it.
The singer's name is Alcian Lindo.
Okay, Alcian Lindo.
Yeah.
And again, the album is called Monsters. If you hang on to the line, folks, I'm going to get, I have one pair of tickets to give away to his Sunday night show if you'd like to see George at Yoshi's, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's an album giveaway. So
big CD release.
All kinds of good stuff could come out. I'll give out the number at the end of the interview. What Bay Area bands influenced you? I mentioned Tower Power, but I don't know if that was...
Tower Power, actually, they're a pretty big influence on us. Their horn section's excellent. Sly and the Family Stone.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, they're some of our favorites. I really look up to Larry Graham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a great bass player. Let's see, who else is there?
What about bass players? Who influenced you?
Bass players, I would say when the guy that got me hooked on the bass, the guy that really made me look at the bass and say, wow, that's possible on the bass, was Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten from Bela Fleck and the Flecktones.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from that point, I started discovering more guys. Jaco Pastorius, Larry Graham, of course, who I already mentioned.
So these are
Marcus Miller.
Mostly funk bands.
Yeah, mostly funk bassists.
Did you ever listen to any rock? When I think of bass, I kind of think of like metal and rock. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, like even before I discovered like a lot of these funk bands where bass is like a real prominent instrument, I was listening to the Grateful Dead. I was listening to Fish. I had my tastes were all over the place. I was listening to Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole gamut.
I don't get to play a lot of Metallica on here, but I like. I'm a big Jason Newsted fan who played for Metallica.
Yeah,
Bay Area guys again too.
Yeah, Bay Area guys.
Something about Bay Area bassists.
Yeah,
maybe.
There's lots of great bass players here.
I haven't had any chance to speak with Frances, your lovely wife, though. Frances, who's your favorite bass player?
Oh gosh, is this a trick question?
I wanted to see you fall into it.
Well, of course I would say George here, but it's funny. I grew up in the Bay, so I've always loved soul, funk, and R&B.
Okay.
And naturally, I would just love the bass because it's part of the music here in the Bay Area. And it was George who actually got me really into the bass and understand the history of it, and he introduced me to all those.
Did you guys, was George playing the first time you saw him?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we met at this place called Swig, which is downtown, and they have a blues jam there every Sunday, and I'd go there. Yeah, they still have a blues jam, the longest running blues jam in the city. And I'd go there every Sunday to play bass with the group, and there was this one girl who was always catching my eye, who was out there because they also there's also dancers there, and she's a dancer.
Okay,
right? She's a
and a
career
former
dancer.
Princess, I hear too.
Yes.
Yeah, former Disney princess. So that's where I met Fran playing bass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So music makes another marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Music and dance go
perfect.
together, don't
Yes.
they?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, because we played Get Lucky. I thought you have some other cover tunes too.
Yeah, I do.
Does it ever get annoying though? Do people come up to you, hey man, you know what you should play?
Yeah. Well, it's not annoying. Everyone has their own take on music, and I don't ever want to do a cover that's just a repeat of what's already been done or what's already been done.
Right.
I like to put my own twist on it. Yeah, and everyone always has suggestions that we should do this and do that, but ultimately it comes down to what the band's, what the band, how they feel, and their artistic expression.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, let's go out. This is track number 4 here, right? That's what you wanted to hear?
Yeah.
And what song is this?
This one is called Miracle. Off the new album.
Okay. George Lacson. Let me get the paperwork here. George Lacson. Facebook.com/GLaxon Project at GLaxon, LACSON Project, at G Laxon Project on Twitter.
GeorgeLaxon.com also.
Did I not say that?
Nope.
I'm sorry. The song or the album again is called Monsters. The album release party is Sunday at Yoshi's. Check it out. Give us a call here, 415-346-5376. I have one pair of tickets to give away to a lucky caller. And again, thank you for coming in. And this is track number 4 here off the album, which you can pick up on iTunes or at Yoshi's on Sunday.
Yes.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.